April 1st, 2025 OCHN Transportation Reimbursement Webinar. This webinar is being recorded for future use on OCHN's website and on our YouTube channel. If you prefer that your voice not be included in the recording, then please feel free to ask questions via chat. Now, I'm going to turn it over to our speaker today, Anna Nasser.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Anna Nasser. I am the Transportation Administrator. I will be running through the training today. I am going to go through the training, and then there's time at the end for questions. So I ask that you hold questions until then. And so, yeah, we're going to get started. Today's training is going to go over the new transportation logs that will be launching in May. So the agenda for today's training, I'm going to do a quick background of why we're doing the logs, who should use the logs, and then we'll talk about which codes are associated with which logs. That can get confusing, so I'll try to break it down. And then we're going to go through examples of all the logs. There are 4 of them. We'll talk about next steps, and then we'll have time for questions. And these slides will also be available if you need to review. So the examples will be posted on our website. So for the background, the intent of the logs, the reason we're doing this is a couple of reasons. One, we want to standardize the format for all transportation providers so that everybody's doing the same thing, everybody knows what is expected of them, and that it can be a smooth process, logging who's riding and where they're going. That was part 2 as well, for clear expectations. And the other reason is we're trying to decrease mistakes in billings and claims so that we can say that we know this person, John Doe, was definitely in the van on April 1st. That way you have the record of it. It's going to go right into billings. It's going to be very easy. And the last one is acts as proof of service. And this is important because it protects you, the provider. If we are questioning whether someone is in the van that day, you can pull out these logs and say the driver recorded them being there that day, and you can use that as proof of service. So who should use the OCHN logs? The transportation contracts are currently for the IDD population only. OCHN logs must be used for the IDD population. However, if you see these logs and find them helpful for other populations, you are more than welcome to use them. Eventually, when OCHN expands transportation contracts, we will require all populations to use these logs. But for now, our contracts are with the IDD population. Self-determination, individuals do not yet need to use these logs. We are working something out. We may decide in the end that they will use them, but for now, we're going to come back to that. And then OCHN logs must be used for all providers who record attendance manually. So this is important. If you have a real-time tracking system on a tablet in the car, in the vans, then you don't need to use these. These are for providers who are manually recording on paper the pickups and the drop-offs. If you have this technology and you want to use these logs, I still recommend having it as a backup in case the technology breaks, or at least knowing how to use these logs in case the technology breaks. So it's still a good idea to have this training as a backup, but if you have the tablets and real-time data is great. The codes associated with logs. So the transportation route logs and the monthly transportation log, those 2 logs go together, and I'll explain what I mean by that when we get to those examples. So those 2 logs are for the H2014, H2023, and H2025. So that would be vocational, skill building, and job coaching. So the local transportation codes that are associated with those service codes are the XX400 and XX401 codes with the modifiers 14, 23, and 25, depending on which service you are transporting the individual to. The mileage reimbursement log and group mileage reimbursement logs are H2015 service code. So that's community living supports. The local transportation code for community living supports is XX402. There is a reason they're different. The H2014, 2023, and 2025 are per trip, are billed as per trips, and H2015 is billed per mileage. So that is why the logs look a little different. All right, so the first log I want to go over is the transportation route log. This is the top of what it looks like. So I'm going to go over an example of how to fill it out. So a quick overview of this log. You only use this once unless a route changes. So a change would be if an individual is added or an individual no longer is picked up at that route. So I got some questions about what I mean by once. I truly do mean once. It does not mean to be once a month. It does not need to be once a week. It does not need to be once a day. I mean once. Do it and then keep it on file. When you turn in your mileage log, this is when we'll ask for the transportation route logs. The purpose is to help determine length of time en route, the distance of routes, and the distance individuals are from facilities. It's really just giving us a general overview of what routes look like. This helps us determine if routes are being utilized in the most efficient, effective way. And it's just a general overview, who's serving who, which individuals are in which vans. So that is the purpose for this log. That is why we don't need it every day. How to fill it out. So the administration staff can fill out part of it on the computer before you even hand it to the driver. There is, on the website, there is a fillable PDF for the stuff that the administration staff can fill out on the computer. That includes the individual's names. Obviously, these are made up names. So you just put them in the order of pickup. Their pickup addresses, these are very clearly fake addresses, but you just put their address and the drop-off address. And since they're all going to the same place and the transportation, the facility has their own address, usually on a website, I don't need the address physically written out. You can just say the name of the facility. After that, the driver will then take the log and mark when they arrive at the first place, when they arrive at Bree, and then when they arrive at Greg's, and they'll mark the times there. The drop-off time is going to be the same for everybody because you're all going to be dropped off. You're all going to the same place. And then the mileage, and that's where it gets, actually, I could switch sides because that is more at the driver's part. The mileage part is where people also get a little confused, and that's okay. I'm going to try to explain it in a way that makes sense. So the way, even though these codes are not mileage reimbursed by mileage, where mileage would be reimbursed is by individual. So the mileage that's important is from that individual's house or apartment or residence to the facility. So this 15 miles is from 111 test drive to the Vogue facility. The Brideau is from 100 Example Street to the facility. It's not from 111 test drive to 100 Example Street. That's not what this 10 miles is for. The miles is from this location to this location. And a lot of that can also, the mileage, especially since this is not billable by mileage, this could also be filled out by the admin before the staff gets the, or for the driver gets the log. The times are what's really important for the driver to fill out. Actually, I want to go back one more slide. And then I just want to point out, make sure the driver and the organization's authorized representative signs it at the bottom. Log 2. So the second log is going to be the monthly transportation log. This is an example of what it looks like. One second. So this log goes hand in hand with the route log. And what I mean by that is that the individual's names will appear in the same order as the route logs did. But we'll get into that in a second. So an overview of this log, you only have to print monthly, but you use it daily. So there's enough days on here that show for the entire month. Some months obviously have 30 or 28 days, but you'll just leave those blank if it's a month that is shorter than 31. The service codes, again, are the H2014, H2023, and H2025. That's the same service codes as the route log. And the purpose is to track attendance. This is also going to be your log that shows proof of service for that day. So this is a slightly different purpose than the route log. So administration staff can fill out on the computer, and again, it's a fillable PDF. The individual's names, again, should be in the same order as the route log. The month and year that this log is going to be used for. The organization's name, Voc Facility, TTI, like whatever the name of the organization is. The driver's name and the destination. I'm sorry, I just flipped it. The destination is the Voc Facility. The organization's name is your organization. So it could be like Amazing Transportation or whatever would be here. And then the destination is the facility. Sorry about that. And then again, at the very end, make sure the admin can fill out the driver's names and the organization's authorized representative's name, but make sure the driver and the organization's authorized rep signs it. So what the driver does, this is a close-up of how the driver would fill it out. Again, this should be handwritten. Is going to be filling out numbers. So in this example, Joe Smith was absent on April 1st, which is would be today. So he gets a 0 for that day, which means we just didn't pick him up. He was sick, he didn't go. But the rest of the week, he was able to attend his vocational. So, and we drove him there and back. So that's a 2. Some people ask me, well, what if we don't know if we're going to drop them off and they may not pick us up? Like, but he may not need to be picked up. Maybe someone else is picking them up for that day. If that's the case, then I would do tally marks. So instead of putting a 2, put a line, and then on this afternoon pickup, do a second line. Bree Doe, the whole entire week was picked up. On Saturday and Sunday, there was no service, so we just leave it blank. You could also put NA if that's easier so you don't miss a space. And then on Monday, she went again, there and back. Again, these could be tallies instead of the number 2. And then Greg Williams, he, for, I guess, the first and the second, was picked up but didn't need to be dropped off, and so he gets a 1. We only drove him one way. And then on the 3rd and 4th, what he was doing for pickup maybe mom or dad only picks them up, or support or natural support only picks that person up on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Then, or you would do a 1 for those days, and then the rest of the week you would do the 2 if you picked up and dropped off. The other thing I want to point out is that there is no days of the week because it's a monthly log and the days of the week changes. So just be aware that the first, like today, is a Tuesday. So this number 1 is actually starting on a Tuesday, not a Monday. So March's log would show the Monday. And again, if a blank is going to confuse drivers, you absolutely can write NA for days that just have no pickup. Or if a person is only going 3 times a week, the days that they don't go, you can put NA in. That's totally fine. Or a 0, whatever you want to show to say there was no pickup for that day. That's totally fine. And same thing for if there was a holiday or something, or snow day or whatever. All right. Log 3, individual mileage log for reimbursement. This is kind of what the log looks like, the top of it. So the individual mileage reimbursement log actually is the only log that has 2 pages. But the first page can be printed as many times as you need. And then the second page only needs to be printed once, and that is so that the org's authorized rep signs it at the bottom and adds up all the miles for the month in this box. And if there's no other, if you have one page and they only went, 4 places, and the second page is completely empty other than the total mileage and the org's authorized rep's name, that's totally fine. Still print the second page, sign it, and put the total. So how to fill it out. Again, a quick overview. We're gonna print this one also monthly and use it daily. This is for the service code H2015, which is the mileage reimbursement one. This is for community living supports. The purpose of this log is to track outings, track the mileage for the outings, track staff taking the individual, and proof of service for that day. Again, there's a page 1 and a page 2, and page 1 can be printed as many times as you need. The admin can fill out not as much for this type of log, but they can fill out the individual's name and the month that this log is going to be used for. They can be the one to add the mileage on page 2, and then they, of course, need to sign it at the bottom. What the driver will fill out is the date of service, their name, employee's name is driver's name. They can sign it, they need to sign it for each line that they put down. It could, if they can't fit their name, their initial is okay. I prefer a signature, but if they can't fit it, they can initial it. Their start location and the destination. So this can get a little tricky because sometimes you go to multiple places in one day. And that is why this log was designed. So for April 1st, it doesn't have the individual's name on this log. It would be in that box in the top. But Sarah Jones is taking this individual from that individual's home address. They put the home address down, and then they're going to Target. And notice I did not write the whole address of Target. I don't need to know that. That's okay. If you put mile 5, I could even Google it and know probably which Target you went to. That's totally fine with me. So this 5 miles is from their home address to Target. Then the individual maybe realized, oh, actually Target didn't have the thing that I needed. I also need to go to the mall. So then Sarah Jones drives them from Target to the mall, which was 3 miles. From Target to the mall was 3 miles. And then after that, the individual got what they needed and they went home. So they did the mall to home, which is 7 miles. And again, home, you don't have to keep rewriting the address. Once you write it once, I'll know what you mean. The second day was a new employee, a different person came in that day to help this individual. This person had a community living support outing. Maybe there was an event at the library or something. They were going to go to the library. So John Smith drives this individual from the individual's home to the library, which is 6 miles. And then that was it. That's all they did that day. So then in the second row, they put the library to home, which was another 6 miles. Should be the same for both. Actually, I'm going to go back one. And then at the very end, you would, so this is the same as what I just showed on the other slide. The admin would go through and add up 5, 3, 7, 6, 6 and get that 27. Or the driver could if they wanted to, but just trying to make sure that number is accurate. And then log 4 is the group mileage reimbursement logs. This log, I do want to make clear, is optional. This one, you have to do either the individual mileage log or the group mileage log. depending on the situation. But if it's a group outing and you still prefer to just use the individual logs for everybody in the group, that's totally fine. If it's easier to do it this way, then you can use this as well. So the group mileage log is when there's a group outing in the home for individuals. Also, it's still for the age 2015. So if they're doing a community living support, but as a group, you can use as needed. It should be a new log each day, a new log for different groups. The purpose is to track the group outings, track the miles, track staff taking individuals, improve a service for the day. So what the administration can fill out. Like I said, not much. They can sign in at the bottom with the driver who also did that route for that day, and they can add the mileage, but that's about it. And I'll explain why in a second, because the driver and the employee is going to fill out pretty much everything else. So instead of having, so if you had a group outing and you went to multiple places, instead of having to write that on individual logs, you can put it on one log. You can say, here are the people who attended, the participants who attended this outing: Joe Doe, Sam Williams, Jill Smith, again, made up names. And you can put it on either column. John Smith was the driver for this outing. So on April 1st, John Smith took this group of 3 from their home address to Target. That was 5 miles. From Target to the library, that was 4 miles. And then from the library to home, which was 3. And then added at the bottom. And the reason we do it this way is because mileage is reimbursable by individual, not by trip. So that means this 12 is going to go billed for Jill Smith, the 12 is going to be billed for Joe, and the 12 is going to be billed for Sam Williams as well. So we just put one total. This total mileage is for all 3 of them, so you would bill it 3 times. All right, so that is it for the logs. Next steps, all logs are going to be, we're going to start using all logs May 1st. This should give you guys time to train drivers, and if you have any other questions, to reach out to me or the transportation email. There will be flexibility during the rollout. As a reminder, you don't have to turn these logs in every month. Only turn these logs in during an audit or when requested. I might audit more at the beginning just to make sure everybody's understanding how to do it. But you do not have to turn them in unless I ask you to, or if it's an audit. If, especially at the beginning, you do it for a month and you just want to make sure you're doing it right, just shoot me an email. I'll happily look at your log and just give you some feedback, or just say, yep, that's correct. If you would like that, that's totally fine. Just shoot me an email. And then locations of all the logs are at the transportation website as well, at OCHN.